Alrighty, greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Saturday afternoon live stream for week 2 of the 2025 fantasy football season, where I'll be talking about all things fantasy football related going into this upcoming Sunday's matchups. Of course, we're talking starter sit questions, whether you do have a potential wide receiver, running back, quarterback, tight end, potential flex question. Make sure you include your scoring format whenever you type it into the live chat. But if you want to claim priority, because again, there's one of me and many of you, be sure to go ahead and send in a super chat and include all the context and information within that message. Greatly appreciated for all the support. Hope you guys are doing well. Again, as we progress forward to this upcoming weekend, do not forget there are 2 games on this upcoming Monday. We'll have the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Raiders, and of course, Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Houston Texans. Both Monday night games, one starting at 4 p.m. PST, and of course, the other at 7 p.m. PST. I'll also be live tomorrow morning starting from 7 a.m. PST to 10, like we do every single Sunday morning with updated rankings. So if I'm not able to specifically answer your question directly as of today's live stream, hopefully tomorrow's live stream will be able to suffice and get us in the right direction. All right. Let's get into talking about all things fantasy football, beginning with the first couple questions. I did see many of you already asking above a variety of assorted questions in regards to the tight end position. I know many of you who are missing George Kittle are still looking into potential kind of, I would say, pick up in streaming options, technically speaking, over the course of the next month or so. Guys like Juwan Johnson, Harold Fannin, Brenton Strange. I know Michael Mayer was a name that I mentioned earlier this week within the waiver wire episode, but as it seems earlier today, we did get a little bit of at least positive information regarding Brock Bowers practicing. So as they progress to tomorrow night's matchup, it looks like he could potentially play there, which would make Mayer a lesser option because you wouldn't have a pivot there in the event in which, unless you have Bowers on roster and that's your only pivot. Either way. All right, let's continue. Beginning with the question that comes in from Mr. Pryor, who says, I need help between Juwan Jennings and George Pickens this week. It's a 14-man full PPR. My wide receiver one is Amon-Ra St. Brown, which is great. Amon-Ra takes on Chicago. The Chicago Bears will not have their primary nickel cornerback, which is Kyler Gordon, for a second consecutive week. That will certainly help Amon-Ra because the coverage will be a little bit less competitive. As for your next option, you have Chase Brown, a running back. You have Alvin Kamara, and of course, Breece Hall within the flex. Yeah, I think those are all correct moves. If I was to potentially give you a little bit of advice in this situation, I think, look, Juwan Jennings coming off of the shoulder injury, him already being questionable, the decision may be made for you because he may not even be active tomorrow by the time we get to kickoff. As of right now, regardless of whether he does play or not, I am going to lean on the side of caution and play George Pickens because I would hate to throw Juwan Jennings out there, not only with the backup quarterback, but also the potential of him re-aggravating said shoulder injury, then leaving the game. I think Pickens in the matchup against the Giants is the better of the 2 picks this week, Mr. Pryor. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate the support. Rob P sends it a question. Rob, hope you're doing well. Says pick one. We have Dak Prescott or Bo Nix. Yeah, between the two of them, I'm going to trust that Bo Nix is still going to play incredibly well this week against that Indianapolis secondary that is going to be missing 2 of their primary secondary members. Of course, Ward and I think the other let me look at my injury report. I put it together just like 40 minutes ago with the most updated list. Indianapolis also, besides Ward, Jones is going to be missing there in the secondary, which obviously does not help them in terms of depth. So I'm going to lean towards Bo Nix there. If you wanted to play Dak Prescott, I don't have an argument against it. I just feel like the rushing upside that Bo Nix is typically capable of accomplishing is going to lean in his favor in comparison to Dak Prescott, who doesn't have as much of a high ceiling there. But when you take on the Giants, you can find high ceiling because that defense isn't as great. Their pass rush is solid, but their secondary coverage obviously is going to be benefiting from that pass rush. But I lean towards playing Bo Nix there. That's who I have ranked higher. As for your following question, says Walker, Harvey, or Mason. I'm not really interested in playing Harvey this week. As between Walker and Mason, I'm honestly going to lean in the direction of playing Jordan Mason there. As of right now, until I can get a clearer picture as to what the backfield is going to continue to look like for the remainder of the season, in regards to Walker versus Charbonnet, it looks like we have a little bit of a running back by committee timeshare situation in which they're both going to get themselves a good volume of runs, but Charbonnet is going to dominate within the red zone, and Walker's going to dominate within the receiving category. I would just lean in the direction of playing Jordan Mason here, as I know he is going to have the vast majority of attempts and hopefully also the goal line rushing opportunities there. Thank you. Stephen Drake sends in a question. Stephen, hope you're doing well. Long time no see. Says, Andrew, in a half PPR, would you accept Harris on and Walker? Harris on? Who's Harris? What does that mean? And Walker for JSN. I don't know what okay, maybe I'm going to assume your autocorrect absolutely butchered whatever was going on there. So I'd love to know what you mean by that, because Let me see if I can figure out. Okay, Harris on is Harrison, like Marvin Harrison Jr. Got it. Okay, I had to literally look up Harris, and I was like, what could it potentially be? Okay. Would I trade accept Marvin Harrison Jr. and Walker for JSN? Ooh, okay, interesting. And it says, or should I reach for Bowers or Ibuka plus Walker, or neither? Okay, so here's the thought process that I have. You'd only be bringing Walker if you potentially have Charbonnet. I don't know if I want to have Walker outright by himself. If I believe, or I, can speculate or kind of wonder, okay, maybe there's going to be a 50-50 timeshare within this backfield. So if that's going to continue to be the case, if not Walker potentially even losing more touches going forward, if Charbonnet's to outperform him, I don't know if that's probably the best move in this circumstance. If you do have Charbonnet and you want full access to the entire backfield of the Seahawks, I could justify the decision, but for right now, I'd hold on to JSN. As for your alternative question, says, should I reach for Bowers or Ibuka plus Walker? I mean, at this point, if you could get, if you were to get Bowers in this circumstance, it'd make it a little bit sweeter. But in this circumstance, it would make it convincing. Yeah, I would feel comfortable enough making the move at that point because of what you're attaching alongside of Walker. Because Harrison alone just doesn't get the job done per se. Thank you, Steven. Appreciate it. Anthony Barrett sends in a question. Says Travis Hunter or Javonte Williams? Yeah, I think regardless of scoring format, I'm going to lean towards Javonte Williams there. I know you're playing in a full PPR like you mentioned, Anthony, and I appreciate you mentioning that. But as of right now, I'm going to lean towards Javonte Williams against that New York Giants defense. Again, I've mentioned it earlier this week, and I'll continue to reiterate it. Besides the fact that the New York Giants defense this season thus far obviously got torched on the ground. JCM week 1 went for 8 yards per carry. Dominated. Eckler, of course, continued to play well as in his overall rushing efforts. But as a whole, the Giants' run-stop defense, year over year since 2021, have always been a top 6 matchup for fantasy running backs. So we are anticipating Javonte Williams to probably continue that streak of success here, considering the volume he was given, considering the Miles Sanders fumble last week. After Miles Sanders had fumbled, we didn't see Miles Sanders play another snap for the remainder of the game. So we could see a lot of Javonte Williams this week. And we know, of course, once they get down into the red zone, they're looking to hand him off the ball. And of course, he found 2 touchdowns last week, which hopefully is just going to continue to be the case for his score lines. It's not to say that Travis Hunter is a bad play, though. I just think that Javonte is the better of the two. Andy sends in a question, says in a half PPR pick 2 between Tet McMillan, we have Egbuka, Reek, Hollywood. Cheers. Okay, you've got a lot of great players there. Hollywood Brown has to be started. Xavier Worthy earlier today, or I guess last night earlier today, was confirmed that he is going to be out. In his absence, of course, Hollywood Brown is going to get himself an incredibly high target share within this offense, considering how they utilized him, especially within the slot position, having 7 receptions and about 70% of his receptions and 80+% of his receiving yards just from the slot position. That's going to continue to be the case with Worthy and of course Rashee Rice absent. So Hollywood has to play. Now, as for your alternative options, I could justify the idea of playing Egbuka T-Mac, but I'm going to lean towards playing Tyreek Hill. I think as it currently stands, with Miami being at home, the home opener, trying to get a bounce back in comparison to what they put on film last week, Tyreek Hill against the New England Patriots secondary that has no Christian Gonzalez, playing for a second consecutive week here. Again, in the absence of Gonzalez, Jacoby Myers completely torched that secondary this most recent week. I think Tyreek Hill is in line, and there's a reason why I have him as the thumbnail. I'm willing to go ahead and give him another role here this week. In regards to potentially playing T-Mac Egbuka, again, you've got a lot of good players. It's kind of a good problem to have, but at the same time, always a tough decision when there's always a possibility of those guys going off on the bench. But yeah, I'd play Tyreek and Hollywood this week. Andy, thanks. Mo Money sends in a question, says start Henderson or Odunze in a full PPR. That's a really good question. Let me see where I have. Let me go to my full PPR rankings. Let's see, Odunze, and then we have Henderson. Okay, so here is what makes Henderson a little bit more intriguing than he potentially was a couple days ago. We have heard from a couple of the interviews that we have heard from the head coach of the New England Patriots say, like, hey, maybe we want to go ahead and switch up a little bit of the rushing opportunities. We definitely want to run the ball more. We got to be more efficient with those attempts. That's basically speaking to the lack of efficiency that Ramondre Stevenson put forth. So there could be an opportunity against Miami, which again, really, as a defense as a whole, whether it's stopping the run, at least last season, they were really good at stopping the run. Their secondary is their biggest problem. And if your secondary is going to be a problem, you're gonna have to sit back and cover 2 the whole time, cover 3, and it's gonna be a lot of light boxes in those scenarios. But between the two of them, as it stands, I have a Dunze there. I have Travion Henderson there. I'm curious if I change the scoring format. A Dunze, where did you go, buddy? And then Henderson, where is your name, buddy? Where did you go? Yeah, as of right now, I could justify the idea of playing Henderson, but until I can get like a full confirmation that he has overthrown, Ramondre. I mentioned this earlier this week on the Tuesday running back rankings video. Ramondre dominated in almost all of the snap categories. So whether it was third down, early downs, goal line, not even goal line, third and short situations, even, like 2-minute drill, it was all Ramondre. Until we can get the visual look and representation that he's like Henderson's overtaken him, which it could be this week, but until that is confirmed, I'm just going to lean towards a Dunze because of the full PPR advantage. Thank you. Manil Patel sends in a question. Says, in a half PPR, Dobbins or Kenneth Walker? I'm going to lean towards playing Dobbins there. Again, Dobbins, as of right now, coming off of a week in which he was the lead rushing attempt, kind of back in this backfield, the clear starter, it's difficult to not play Dobbins in this circumstance. Now, your follow-up question there was trade Dobbins for Harvey. The thing is, Harvey's going to have to earn the role in due time, or he would require somebody getting injured. As it stands, Dobbins seems like he's the early down back. Harvey's going to go ahead and spell him at times to get some opportunities here and there. But ultimately, even the receiving back of this offense is Tyler Batty. And they prefer him to be the receiving third down back as well because they prefer him as a pass blocker additionally over Harvey. So Harvey is not someone that I'm seeking to go potentially grab right now with Dobbins. I would try to get him in a different kind of exchange to where you're able to buy him low and hold on to his services for a lottery ticket later on in the season. Thank you. Joel Garza says, questions in the chat, brother. Thank you. Appreciate it. Let me just go ahead and I'll travel on over there right now. Hopefully your question is in the live chat and hasn't been updated off of the screen. All right. Garza, yeah, there's nothing on screen. You're going to have to go ahead and retype it in there, my man. Thanks. When you get a chance, appreciate it. Until then, we continue on with the next question, in which we see Marco Jacinto, who sends in a question. Thank you, Marco. Appreciate it. It says, Dak or Williams? I'd rather play Caleb Williams this week. Next question, T-Mac, or Hollywood Brown or Egbuka. I'd rather play Hollywood Brown there in a full PPR. So yeah, I'm still comfortable with Caleb Williams. Again, guys, I really do prefer my quarterbacks having rushing upside in a 4-point per passing touchdown league. Unless it is going to be a cakewalk of a matchup. Like if Dak Prescott, theoretically speaking, was going to play against New Orleans this week, then at that point I'd be like, you know what, let's just fire him up, let's get it going. But as of right now, based on what success Caleb has found against that Lions defense in the past, I think this could be a trap game for the Lions. We'll see. But for right now, Williams and Hollywood are my suggestions. Steven Hairston sends in a question. Says full PPR, Egbuka, J-Mo, Ricky Pearsall. Really good question. Okay. Playing the hot hand is a thing. And you could go Egbuka here. I am a Ricky Pearsall kind of hype train conductor of sorts. I'd go with, Pearsall 1, Egbuka 2, and J-Mo 3. If you wanted to play Egbuka, I have no problem with it. By tomorrow morning's live stream, when I have the wide receiver rankings presented on screen, they're going to be incredibly closely ranked to the point to where it's justifiable. Like, I have no issue at all playing Egbuka. The only hesitation I have is that Sterling Shepard is playing a lot of that slot receiving role, which Egbuka would have to play this upcoming week for me to feel a little bit more confident in comparison to how much he was exposed to it this most recent week. There was a lot of flaws within that Tampa Bay offense in week 1. Even though, again, they pulled off the win, they scored a good volume of points, they played against a really bad defense. So I'm just hoping that those secondary members don't expose him if he's not playing enough in the slot. So Ricky Pearsall is my answer there. Thank you. All right. Revelant sends in a question. Says, I need you, Drew, in a full PPR start 2 between Samson, Chubb, Mason, Kenneth Walker, Montgomery. Okay, we've got a lot of potential players here that we can go with in terms of 2 running backs. In a full PPR of the names mentioned, okay, we already know that Quinshon Judkins is playing, which kind of mixes up the potential variability of what Samson could provide for us, which, again, we're hoping that Samson is someone that's going to be at least fantasy relevant off of receiving statistics alone every single week. And then Quinton Judkins can take whatever rushing attempts he'd like. But we'll see how much, of course, tread he's going to get this week, considering, again, he's just coming off of a couple days of practice. I think he only practiced Thursday and Friday. He did not even practice on Thursday. So may see a lot of Samson once again this week, considering, again, it's also going to be expected a negative game script against Baltimore in Baltimore. But of your potential options here, Mason, Chubb, Kenneth Walker, Montgomery. Let's see how I have them set up here. Montgomery is there. He's ahead of Chubb. He's ahead of Mason. Who else we have? We have Kenneth Walker. Okay, yeah. As of right now, the way that I see it potentially breaking down, the way that I probably play this is I go Kenneth Walker and I go David Montgomery. If you wanted to play Samson over Walker, you could. I think I want to give Walker another potential run at this. So I go Walker, Montgomery there as your running backs. As for your wide receivers, starting three between Hill, Neighbors, McMillan, Coleman, and Pickens. Okay. A lot of potential options there. Hill, okay, Neighbors has to play. That's a given. I think Hill has to play in my mind. So then if it's between Tet McMillan, Coleman, and Pickens, I'm playing Tet McMillan there. As for the final option, Fairbairn or Cam Little. Considering Fairbairn plays at home indoors, I'm leaning in that direction. Fairbairn is a kicker that I'd like to have. I mean, I had him as my number 2 kicker ranked in the draft season. He's a set it and forget it kicker. That is how he's functioned his entire career. That's kind of the direction I'm still leaning in there. Thank you. Dave sends in a question. Says trade Gibbs/DJ Moore for Neighbors and Kyron. Okay, so basically you're sending away a first round pick and a potential like 4th/5th for a 1st and 2nd. I don't mind it. I'll take the Neighbors and Kyron side. I don't have an issue with that at all. Thank you. Again, you have to understand that if anything was to ever happen to Montgomery and Gibbs had the full reign of this backfield, you're going to regret the decision. But again, under the assumption that Montgomery plays a full healthy season here, I think it is in a advantageous point to be making a trade of that capacity. All right, Joel Garza, question is as such. It says need one in the flex in a full PPR. We have ETN, DJ Moore, David Montgomery. Cool. Of those available, I'm playing Travis Etienne this week against Cincinnati. It says I have Amon-Ra, I have Jacoby playing right now, and Chuba Hubbard and Kyron. Yeah, Etienne's my suggestion there in your flex position. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. All right, continuing on. We had a question that came in from, let's see here. Okay, we took care of Dave. We have Fainsky. Fainsky, hope you're doing well. Says, I need the safer/upside play. Bill didn't start well. It says A.J. Brown or Hollywood Brown. I'd rather play Hollywood Brown this week. Thank you. As for your next question, it says CeeDee Lamb and Zay are my number 1 and 2. The rest of the team consisting of Brees, Lamar, Bill, and Kincaid. Yeah, I would play Hollywood Brown, especially if you're playing in a full PPR capacity. That is the secured, I'm going to get a bunch of receptions kind of situation there. And A.J. Brown, in comparison to like a Devontae Smith, hasn't really been exposed to much upside against that Kansas City defense, as typically has, prioritized trying to shut him down. Alucard, XO19 says, Trey Benson or RJ in a half PPR survival league. I need the W. Yeah, of course. In a survival kind of like guillotine format, I would lean in the direction of probably playing Trey Benson there, under the assumption that the Arizona Cardinals put up such a high volume of, points against that Carolina Panthers defense that Trey Benson gets enough work in the second half to be relevant. That's kind of the direction I'm leaning in there. Again, there's a lot of risk and reward with both plays. Just don't know if I can outright trust Harvey in this situation. Yeah, it's tough, man. If Harvey had gotten more receiving workload last week, I'd be okay with it. It's just tough. Yeah, I don't know. As of right now, I'd probably just lean towards Benson. I want to play Harvey. Trust me, I do. But I just don't know if it's gonna pan out. Like, Harvey's gonna get himself some attempts here and there, but if he doesn't break a big run, he doesn't get much receiving utilization. At least I know that Trey Benson will have a little bit more volume because of the positive game script in the second half. Thank you. Chris Vasquez sends in a question. Says, what's up, man? Longtime follower. Devontae Smith, DK Metcalf, Hollywood Brown, half PPR pick 2. Got to play Hollywood Brown first and foremost. And then you got to follow it up by playing Devontae Smith. Again, I mentioned it multiple times this week, whether it was yesterday's specific Hidden Gems episode or earlier this week when I had Devontae Smith as the thumbnail of one of the live streams we conducted here on the channel. Devontae Smith without Dallas Goedert is an unstoppable force. In a half PPR, averaging over 14.5 fantasy points per game in the last 3 seasons when Goddard has been out. So Devontae Smith, Hollywood, the easier plays of the bunch. I understand that playing Metcalf against Seattle, a revenge game, is always an exciting play, but your alternative options are just too much. They're just too much of a safer / upside play in comparison. Sip sends it a question. Says, what's up, Andrew? It's Sip. Need a starter and bench Njoku, Fannin, Strange, Henry. Need 4 for bench Shakir. Okay. Real quickly. Of the tight ends that you mentioned, as it currently stands, I probably end up playing Hunter Henry there. Of those 4 available. Moving to the next question. Says you have Shakir, Moore, Charbonnet, Tillman, Sampson, Booty, and Alick. Okay, so of those available, under the assumption it's a full PPR, I probably just end up playing either Shakir or DJ Moore, to which as of right now, I'd probably lean towards playing DJ Moore. That would be my suggestion there. Thank you, Sip. Ben Brown sends in a question, says Juwan Jennings, Isaiah Pacheco, Quentin Johnston for the last flex spot in a full PPR. I probably end up playing Quentin Johnston there, number 1, Juwan Jennings 2, and Pacheco 3. Thank you. Santana Torres sends in a question. Says Fields, Genty, Henderson, Neighbors, Egbuka, Njoku, Sutton, bench consisting of K9, JCM, Hunter, Pearsall, Ingram in a PPR 12-team league. Any suggestions? Trades? Wait for breakouts? Leave it. Okay. Fields is fantastic. Unless you had another quarterback on roster, which you don't in this circumstance. I mean, I would say you could utilize him theoretically as trade fodder / leverage, but I don't think you need to. You just continue to fire him up, and of course, he'll continue to play well, hopefully, as long as he stays healthy. That's the only contingency. Perhaps, potentially picking up another quarterback just in case of that potential. Not a bad idea in terms of an insurance policy. You have Genty, Henderson. Okay, great. Neighbors, Igbuka, Njoku, Sutton. Hopefully, Njoku will represent what he's capable of this week. Am I making any changes to the lineup? No, keep it as is. If you can continue to get pretty good performances out of Pearsall, you could even theoretically move him or Egbuka going forward. I would venture to say that Egbuka could be the guy that you might want to move before the return of Chris Godwin if he continues to play well. But as of right now, in terms of any suggestions I would make in terms of trades, yeah, if the players on your bench continue to play well, then you make some swaps. Like obviously going forward, having JCM as the full-time back in Washington is going to make him a far more valuable prospect and potential startable every single week. So in that circumstance, it will open up the potential of you having to play a running back in the flex, which could move Sutton to the bench or Egbuka to the bench, which again, you could take an Egbuka, a JCM, and go for one of the top tier players in the league. Like theoretically try to get both of them and send it for Chase Brown, something like that. Thank you. All right. Ishan Modi sends in a question. Says flex Brenton Strange, Juwan Jennings, or Juju Smith-Schuster. Wow. I don't like any of those options as a flex. It says also, how high are you on D-Hop going forward? Not high at all. Again, the thing is, whenever you're associated with the Baltimore Ravens offense and your name is not Zay Flowers or Derrick Henry, you are 100% contingently, you have to score a touchdown. Otherwise, you are pretty much not a viable option. So whether you're Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews, DeAndre Hopkins, all of them are incredibly reliant on scoring touchdowns. In the event in which they do not score said touchdowns, we can't even consider starting them because of that volatility that is associated with the offense. Now, if I was to suggest the player of the bunch, I probably end up going with Strange there, number 1, Jennings 2, Juju number 3. Thank you. Shoes sends it a question. Says in a full PPR, Moore, Judy, or Ridley? Much love, my guy. Thank you very much, Shoes. Appreciate it. Let me see where I have them ranked in my full PPR. All right, Moore, Judy, Ridley. Okay, let's see here. As it stands, DJ Moore, Jerry Judy below him, and then I'll have Ridley. Yeah, so I'm going DJ Moore there. The order at which I currently have it, I'd go DJ Moore number 1, Calvin Ridley number 2, Jerry Judy number 3. Thank you. The S-Box sends it a question. It says in a full PPR, I have 3 questions. Currently, number 1, I have Knicks or Fields. I'd go with Fields. Number 2, start Judy or Booty. If it rhymes. Judy is going to be my suggestion there as your flex. As your third question says, do I start Tracy, Olave, or Hollywood Brown in the flex? I would suggest playing Hollywood Brown. Thank you. Cowboys955 sends it a question. Says, which two quarterbacks would you choose for rest of season? JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix, or Daniel Jones? Really good question. I mean, I think of the group, JJ McCarthy was my highest ranked in the pre-draft process. Of that group of three quarterbacks you mentioned, I'm going to still stick with the idea that he should be the most valuable going forward. Now, as between Michael Penix and Daniel Jones, again, if Daniel Jones is going to have a full season in which he is the quarterback, then I would say, sure, it's him. But I cannot guarantee that to be the case. Even though, again, he did play incredibly well in week 1, there's always the looming potential of Anthony Richardson. In the meanwhile, again, he could provide a lot more value than Penix because of the rushing potential upside that he has demonstrated over the course of his career, not just in the red zone, but specifically as a read option quarterback, having back in 2022 ran for over 700 yards in that year. So Daniel Jones technically could be the guy if he just maintains the job. That's it. That's all he has to do is keep the job. Until then, yeah, I think for fantasy purposes, 4-point per passing touchdown, it's McCarthy and Daniel Jones. And again, if you wanted to say, hey, you know what, I'm not even going to risk it with Jones there, I'm afraid of the Anthony Richardson potential, then you just play with Penix there. But if it's my suggestion as of right now, I'd go with McCarthy and Jones. Thank you. All right, Suarez sends in a question. Says, hey, Andrew, I need some help with my lineup. I'm in a 10-team full PPR, 3 wide receiver, 1 flex, 2 running back league. I need a running back and a wide receiver in a flex between Pearsall, Kamara, Wilson, and ETN. All right, great question. As of right now, in comparison to your alternative options, I'd feel most comfortable playing Kamara, Wilson, and ETN. Unfortunately, leaving Pearsall on the bench, despite me being the conductor of the hype train for Pearsall, I think the alternative options, in my mind, are the more valuable ones. Playing Garrett Wilson against the pretty much battered secondary of the Bills. ETN against Cincinnati, who again demonstrated last season they can't stop the run. I don't care what they did in week 1. Trust me, it's going to happen. ETN's going to have himself a pretty good game here. And then, of course, Kamara, he's just too valuable not to start in comparison. So I'll just lean towards Kamara, Wilson, ETN there. Thank you. David Luna sends in a question. David, thank you very much. Says Devontae Smith or Pickens in a full PPR? Got to play Devontae Smith there. Thank you. Also, next question, Andrews or Fannin? I'd like to give Mark Andrews another one at it. If you wanted to theoretically play Fannin, I don't have an issue with it because, again, a lot of what the tight end position, especially in a full PPR, revolves around is either you have to have a high volume of receptions or you've got to score a touchdown. And Fannin can do the reception category, and Andrews can score that touchdown. As to which of the two comes to fruition, I'd lean towards Mark Andrews with still Patrick Ricard and Isaiah Likely out. But again, if you wanted to play Fannin, I don't have an issue with it. All right. El Benyas sends in a question. Nothing attached to it. Let me go ahead and write your name down just so I can find it in the future. Please do me a favor and retype that question into the chat, Benyas. Thank you. C. Crip sends in a question. Says, I need a wide receiver and 1 flex in a full PPR. I have Alvin Kamara, ETN, Pearsall, Evans, and Hollywood Brown. I'm starting Gibbs, Henry, and Hill. Cool. Of those available options, my wide receiver start of the bunch is going to be Hollywood Brown. And within the flex position, I'm probably going to lean towards playing... Where do I have ETN compared to Kamara in a full PPR? As it stands, I have Travis there. I have Kamara ahead of him. So that's probably the way that I go about rolling this dice. Yeah. So in a full PPR, I go Hollywood and I go Alvin Kamara there as your 2 options, Crip. Thank you. Anthony Marr says, I have a question in the chat. Thank you, sir. Okay, Anthony, let me go ahead and write your name down as well so I can travel on over there and find said question. Appreciate it. All right. For those of you who are joining us this afternoon, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. Again, I'm trying to answer questions to the best of my ability as quickly as I can so I can get to all of your guys' questions. As of right now, first and foremost, remember that, again, if I'm not able to answer your question directly, hopefully by proxy of answering somebody else's question, I can set you guys up for success. Besides, of course, answering questions today, I will be answering questions tomorrow morning from 7 to 10 p.m. PST, along with the live stream that I conduct every single Sunday morning for 3 hours. Now, for those of you who are not able to make it to the live stream or potentially just want these answers for the remainder of the season every single Sunday morning, you could check out Betr. Again, I'll be partnering with them for the entirety of the season, not only to provide plays, which we'll go over later on today, but also rankings. So if you sign up using code Andrew, make that first time deposit minimum of 10 and make that first time play minimum of $1 within a real cash play, picking more or less on 2-player statistics, you'll be eligible to get those Sunday morning rankings sent from my email directly to yours. Every single position, including flex, kicker, defense, all that, half PPR, full PPR, my email directly to yours. So if you're interested, of course, be sure to go ahead and check out the link down below and check out the map down to the right side of the screen to determine your eligibility based on your current location. If you're in the US, you can play, and only in the purple states are you eligible to play. And also, if you sign up today, you get a free $10. So if you guys are interested, check that out. Thank you very much. Also, besides that, if I'm not able to answer your question, like I've mentioned before, the Patreon's another way to, of course, ask me direct questions and get those rankings every Thursday, Sunday, get Discord server access, all that kind of jazz. If you guys are interested, thank you very much. All information like that I just mentioned down below. Okay, we did see the question that just came in from, I believe, let me see, where did it go? I think Benyas just sent in a question. I saw it. There it is. Says, sorry, happy birthday. Thank you very much. Says, half PPR, pick 3, Ridley, Adunze, Charbonnet, and Dobbins. Okay, half PPR, of those available options, I feel most comfortable legitimately playing Sharbs, Dobbins, and Adunze this week. Thank you. Appreciate it, Benyas. All right, then we go to Anthony Marr. Let's see where your question is, Marr. Anthony Marr says, Anthony, I don't really see a question from you in the live chat, brother. I see you have a couple messages. Your most recent messages were route for sure and flex Sutton. So I don't know. I think you're talking to somebody else. If you can, retype in your question. There it is. I see it. Thank you. It says start 2 wide receivers and 2 running backs and 1 flex. We have Justin Jefferson. We have Harrison Jr., Hollywood Brown, Tyreek Hill, Judy, Jonathan Taylor, Swift, JCM, half PPR, 10-team league. Cool. Of the available options that you have, which again, you got a lot of great options. Justin Jefferson and Hollywood Brown alongside of Tyreek Hill, Jonathan Taylor, and DeAndre Swift. I mean, that's really it. So again, from the top to the bottom, my 2 wide receivers are J-Jet, Tyreek. Running backs are Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, and I'm flexing Hollywood Brown this week. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate it, brother. All right, continuing on, let's go ahead and let's hop back into some of these questions that were sent in via Super. Okay. Alejo sends in a question. Says in a full PPR, Devontae Adams or Marvin Harrison Jr. at my wide receiver 2 spot to pair up with Ladd McConkey? That's a really good question. I think I'd feel more comfortable playing Marvin Harrison this week going up against Carolina. Again, Devontae Adams, I think his rapport in due time is going to be built with Matthew Stafford. Now, again, I say in due time, it could happen this week. It very easily could against that Tennessee Titans secondary, as the Titans secondary has been dealing with a lot of injuries. In specific, to just highlight them, besides the fact that they're going to be missing, they're going to be potentially, Kevin Winston is doubtful. We'll see. They could be missing 2 defenders this week, but as of right now, I'd lean towards playing Marv and Ladd. Thank you. Dilly sends in a question. Says, I claimed ETN off of the waivers. My starting running backs are Jacobs and Kyron. My starting wide receivers are neighbors in London. I have ETN or Egbuka in a full PPR. I would prefer to play ETN there. Thank you. Josh sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, wide receiver help, we have Justin Jefferson, Emeka Egbuka, Tedoroa McMillan, and Keon Coleman. My running backs are Achane, Jacobs, and McCaffrey. Wow. I'm starting 3 running backs all season unless injuries. Yeah, and I wouldn't. Yeah, you should. Says, I'm worried about Egbuka will fall off once Godwin returns. If you're trying to cash in on an Egbuka, then you could potentially trade him prior to the trade occurring here. As for your quote-unquote wide receiver help that you're asking for, in specific, I'm assuming you're asking, like, who do we start this week of the 4 available? Obviously, you know that you're starting Justin Jefferson, but between Egbuka, Tedoroa McMillan, and Keon Coleman, I think that's really the question on hand. Let's see here. Where do I have Tedoroa, and then, okay. As of right now, I'm going to reiterate this. I don't like the matchup against Houston unless we're going to see him, like, specific when I say him, Egbuka, unless we're going to see Egbuka play an incredibly high volume of snaps in the slot position. I don't like the matchup. I didn't like the matchup for Puka last week, but he played exclusively 70% in the slot. I'm going to suggest that your number 2 wide receiver outside of Jefferson be T-Mac this week. Thank you. Amar Gomez says, Tyrone Tracy or Calvin Ridley in the flex full PPR. I'm going to go with Tracy there. Thank you. Marvin Lewis says, standard, Williams, Stroud, or McCarthy? Great question. I'm going to order it. Williams 1, McCarthy 2, Stroud 3. Thank you. Abby Duda sends in a question. Says, 12-man full PPR, Hunter versus Hampton versus Hollywood in the flex. In a full PPR, you got to play Hollywood Brown there. Says, I'm in a 14-team, 3 wide receiver league, planning to trade Christian McCaffrey and Kirk for Neighbors and Hendo. Any thoughts? So when you say you're going to trade McCaffrey and Kirk, I'm assuming you mean Kirk, like as in Christian Kirk, theoretically speaking. In the event in which you were feeling comfortable to do so, I don't have an issue with that trade. I think that definitely does help your running back depth in the future in terms of grabbing Hendo there. You also, of course, are trading McCaffrey for Neighbors, who are technically in a full PPR, both first-round selections. So I don't mind the move in this circumstance because I think it does help you going forward with the Hendo add to the team, which in a 14-team league, you're already thin for, kind of depth in that circumstance, so it adds to it. Thank you. DR sends in a question. Says, in a non-PPR non-PPR one flex, Samson, Juju, or Waddle? Okay. I would like to play Waddle there. I'm going to give it another shot. Personally, that's the way that I'm going to go about it. Am I ever going to play Juju Smith-Schuster in fantasy? Absolutely not. I couldn't do that. Couldn't swallow that pill. Nope. As for Samson, it's justifiable, but in a non-PPR, a little bit less of an enticing play, considering, again, I think Quinshon Judkins is going to take a little bit of the value away from him going this week. All right. Let's see here. Jazz Most sends in a question. I probably butchered the name, but says, sup, Drew, in a full PPR, Tillman or Booty for the rest of the season? The rest of the season is a little bit of a trickier question, but I'm going to lean towards Cedric Tillman between the two of them. Thank you. Matthew Zhang sends in a question. Says, start 2 in a PPR. Tyreek, Hollywood, Pearsall, DK. Give me Tyreek and give me Hollywood Brown this week. Thank you. Mike Cox sends in a question. Interesting name. Says, full PPR, Tracy, Diggs, Shaheed. Okay, between the three of them, full PPR, I'm leaning towards playing Tyron Tracy Jr. Next question is Brenton Strange or Juwan Johnson? In a full PPR, it's Juwan Johnson. Defense, Steelers or Vikings? Let me check my defensive rankings this week. I have the Steelers ahead of the Vikings this week. Thank you. Paul Adams sends in a question. Says, I just joined Patreon. Thank you very much, Paul. Appreciate that, my man. Yeah, if you want, you can go ahead and send me a question there. Let me open up the Patreon, see if you did send me a question, potentially, Paul. All right, let's open up this. Yeah, again, if you want to send me questions on Patreon, guys, like you guys know, there's an envelope in the top right corner of the main Patreon page of my page. If you click on the envelope, it'll allow you to send me direct messages, and I'm more than happy to help. I'll have, of course, rankings for tomorrow morning posted probably around 2 a.m. tonight, or tomorrow morning, technically speaking, PST, to where you can check out those rankings and, of course, help set your lineup in that circumstance. Paul, thank you. Appreciate it. Paco sends in a question. Says, Njoku or Fannin? As of right now, I'm gonna try to give Njoku another look this week, or drop one for Juwan. As of right now, I can understand why you're struggling. I think keep both what you have. Keep Njoku and Fannin. I'm going to roll with Njoku this week. I think he still has potential. Okay? Once we have another consecutive game in which Fannin is getting the incredibly high volume that he saw week 1, if it occurs again, and he is not another Isaiah Likely, which I'm hoping he's not, just for the sake of the tight end position, I always love to see guys come out of nowhere and take over. For his sake, hopefully he's going to be solid. Otherwise, I think Njoku's probably going to get a lot more work in this week because now, obviously, with week 1 distributed and the film out there, the Ravens know what they want to do with Fannin. And the Ravens, I'm sure, are going to put in a couple, they may use Kyle Hamilton to kind of keep him bottled up there. But yeah, I'll go with Njoku there. All right. John Bravo sends in a question. Says, so if I have JSN, Puka, London, and Tedero and McMillan with Igbuka on the bench, would it be crazy to try to trade one of them for Chase Brown or Genty? No, it's not crazy. I think, in fact, you probably should. Because if you've got that stacked of a wide receiver core, Puka, London, and JSN, then theoretically speaking, in a full PPR format, those are your first 3-round picks. Puka has always been a first-round pick. London's been a second-rounder, and JSN was a third-rounder this offseason. So if those are your 3 picks, then I'm assuming your running back depth is probably not looking sharp, to which if you can go ahead and trade for a Chase Brown, I would say that you should. Absolutely. Word sends in a question. Says, I have the stack of Baker, Igbuka, and Evans. Would you start Evans or Igbuka? Really quickly, I might sneeze here. Oh, bless me. Thank me. Okay. One more time. One more. Hold up. No. Okay. Woo. Thank you. All right. Have you guys seen that video where Quinnen Williams does the bless me, thank me? I don't know. I saw that a couple years ago. I've just been... Anyway, let's see here. Where are we at? Okay, so you have the Baker, Igbuka, and Evans stack. Would you start Evans or Igbuka? I would start Evans. I'm not sure who Stingley will guard. Well, Stingley's going to just play on his side of the field. I don't think he's going to specifically be shadowing because I think Stingley and Lassiter are good enough to where they're just going to stay on their own side of the field. So that's what I would anticipate. I'd rather play Evans there, though. Thank you. Continuing on with a question from Gog, who says, in a full PPR, should I drop Golden or Booty for Alick? No. Let's hold another week. And let's see how this goes. Gabriel Martin sends in a question. Says, I need an RB2 and flex between Aaron Jones, Tracy, Hollywood, Jalen Waddle, and Judy in a standard scoring format. Okay, in a standard scoring league, it becomes a little bit tricky there as to what I want to do with Aaron Jones in comparison to Tracy, because Tracy, I have him valued where I do, specifically because of his workload within the receiving game. But that could also be held true for Aaron Jones effectively, right? Because Aaron Jones kind of really, at this point, with Jordan Mason kind of getting into the rushing opportunities and in the workload there, it does make him a little bit trickier to project. As of right now, I'd probably still lean towards Tracy over Aaron Jones. And as for your flexible play of the bunch, I'm going to go with Hollywood there. Thank you. Michael Story sends in a question, says Quentin Johnston or Jawan Jennings rest of season. That's a really tough question because, okay, so here's the thing. It depends on when Brandon Ayuk returns, because Kittle missing some time here is certainly going to provide a little bit of value uptick for Jennings under the assumption that Brock Purdy returns sooner rather than later. But once Ayuk returns, then it becomes a little bit of a complete disaster of a situation. So at that point, says I already have two 49ers with Kittle and Pearsall. If that matters, well, technically it does matter because I don't want to start three 49ers every week. For now, I think I'd probably lean towards the idea of just let's stick with Johnston, because if we're talking about rest of season, I think once Ayuk comes back, he's going to claim a lot of potential opportunities and kind of dig into Jawan Jennings' workload. Cooler Hand says Pearsall, Ridley, Egbuka, start 1 PPR. Thanks. I'm going to lean towards Ridley number 1, Egbuka 2, Ridley 3. Thank you. So Pearsall 1, Ridley 2, Egbuka. Why did I say that twice and mess it up both times? Pearsall's, okay, let me just go look it up. Pearsall is 1, Egbuka 2, Ridley 3. Yeah, that's what we were thinking. Sorry. I think I said it wrong the first time, then I tried to correct it and messed it up again. Anyway, thank you. Pearsall's my suggestion. Carlos sends in a question. Says in a full PPR, Hampton or T-Mac? In my flex. Thanks. Okay. Let's see where I have Hampton comparatively. As of right now, I have Hampton's there in a full PPR. It's probably just playing Hampton. I could justify the idea of playing Tet McMillan. The thing is, it becomes a little bit tricky because that offense, I mean, like, he's going to get himself enough of a workload share to where I'm like comfortable with the idea of rolling him out there. But I feel like Hampton is a little bit more inclined to score touchdown upside. When I'm looking at like the projections of what I have, it's like a range of potential, to which I'm thinking when I look at this range, I'm like, all right, well, technically speaking, the upside is on the side of McMillan because of the full PPR format and the lack of receptions from Hampton, but the safer floor is Hampton. So I'm just going to lean towards playing Hampton there. Thank you. Devon Bomar sends in a question. It says, in a half PPR, who do I start in a standard? Wide receiver. We have Higgins, Adams, Waddle, Coleman. Okay, of those available, if I'm starting I don't know how many we can start, actually. Maybe it's 2. My running backs are Irving, Etienne, Warren, and Sampson. Out of all, who do I play in the flex? Okay, so let's say we're starting a 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. In this circumstance, I'd go Higgins and Adams as my wide receivers. I'd go Irving and Etienne as my running backs. And in a half PPR, I'm playing Jalen Warren as my flex. Thank you. Paul Adams sends in a follow-up, says, Tyreek, where did it go? Where the heck did Paul's question go? Tyreek Hill this week? Question mark. What are your thoughts? Yeah, look, as of right now, again, it's not by accident that I have him as my thumbnail. I think, again, with Christian Gonzalez out for the New England Patriots, I almost said Indianapolis Colts, for the New England Patriots at home in Miami in September, this should be a game that Miami wins legitimately. Based on how the New England Patriots looked last week, this should be a game in which the Miami Dolphins win. They're favored at home. In week 1 of the 2025 season, favorites won, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 13 of the 16 matchups in week 1. I'd lean towards the side of Tyreek Hill, bounce back performance, and probably getting himself a pretty good workload share, especially considering Darren Waller is out for another consecutive game. Emily Doyle sends in a question, says, hey, Andrew, Pearsall or Devontae Smith in my flex? I would suggest you play Devontae Smith there. Emily, thank you. Rogo sends in a question, says, sup, bro? Hope you're having a great weekend. Thank you, I am. Says, wasn't able to get Hunt settled for Giddens, dropped Reed. Did I make the best move given what's available? Wasn't able to get a Hunt settled for... Yeah, Giddens is fine. I mean, again, DJ Giddens is going to get himself probably maybe 1 or 2 starts this week based on what we have seen from Jonathan Taylor's health over the years. So dropping Reed for him is not a bad idea in terms of handcuffing your potential upside and insurance policy there, and then also having some potential solid weeks there in the event in which he does end up starting. Octavio sends in a question, says questions in the chat. Thank you. Let me just go ahead and write your name down, and then if you can, retype in that question because I'm assuming you typed it in a while back. Thank you. Stayer sends in a question, says Drake May or Daniel Jones in the PPR Superflex spot. As of right now, in a current quarterback format, I have Drake May ranked higher this week. Thank you. Oskino sends in a question, says pick 2 PPR Swift, Walker, Pacheco, Tracy, Chubb. Of the available players you mentioned, Swift and Tracy are my suggestions. Thank you. Eric Ostberg sends in a question, says, love your work. I was offered Jerry Jeudy and Pacheco for Keon Coleman / Caleb Johnson. Would love to hear your thoughts on these guys. Yeah, as of right now, Pacheco is a little bit of an unknown commodity because they don't want to run the ball. I mean, they have proven that. Whether it was late last season, the NFL playoffs, or thus far in week 1, they do not want to run the ball. Therefore, if they're going to avoid running the football, it basically makes Pacheco a non-start. Now, Caleb Johnson's not getting any workload of opportunity. So in comparison to Pacheco, there is a higher likelihood that Pacheco could get himself a greater workload share, while Caleb Johnson purely is going to have to rely upon an injury occurring to either Jaylen Warren or Kenneth Gainwell to get more opportunities going forward. So in terms of the value point between these two groupings, again, it depends on whether you need the depth now to play. Because if you're in a position to where you're like, Andrew, I'm going to have to play Pacheco because I'm in a really bad spot and Caleb Johnson's not a startable player, then you make that trade. Otherwise, I'm willing to hold on to what I have with Caleb Johnson and hope that later on in the season, he's able to kind of pan out to what we're anticipating and let Coleman just be the better of the two in comparison to Jeudy. So very much so dependent on whether you need the Pacheco play now or later. If you don't need it now, then I think I just stick with the Coleman side. Julian sends in a question. Says in a half PPR pick 4 between St. Brown, T. Higgins, Egbuka, Keenan Allen, and Pearsall. Thank you very much. All right, let's see here, Julian. St. Brown has to play. T. Higgins has to play. If I'm picking 4 of the 5, Egbuka is the odd man out I would lean towards. So I'd go with St. Brown, T. Higgins, Pearsall, Keenan Allen. That's the direction I go in. Thank you. Malachi Dunlap sends in a question. Says in a half PPR, who do I start between Pearsall and Metcalf? That's a really good question. Where do I have is half PPR? Let's change the ranking there. Metcalf. As of right now, I'm going to lean. I want to play Metcalf. I do. But I want to play both these guys in this circumstance. It's not an easy question to answer. As easy as I thought it may be, just like instantly saying Pearsall, I don't know if I can. I think you just play DK Metcalf there. I think by tomorrow morning, half PPR, Metcalf's going to be ranked higher than Pearsall on my list. So that's where I'm going to lead you towards. Thank you. Make Music sends in a question. Says Purdy's out, May or Penix this week? I have Drake May ranked higher. Thank you. Wii Sports Matt sends in a question. Says full PPR, flex Pearsall, Pollard, or Hollywood. I would rather play Hollywood over the bunch. I have Kamara, Kyron, Amon-Ra, Nico Collins. Yeah, Hollywood's my suggestion there, Wii Sports. Thank you. VBZ2X says, sent the question in the chat. Thank you very much, VB. All right, let's type in your name, VBZ. Okay. All right, we're going to answer Ed's question, then we're going to get into the live chat. Ed sent in a question. Thank you, Ed. Says ETN Sutton or Zay Flowers in a full PPR flex. Thank you. I'm going to play Flowers there. Thank you. Okay, let's see what we have in the live chat. So we're looking for Octavio, who says, in a 10-team full PPR league, we have Allen, Lamb, Amon-Ra, Omarion Hampton, Breece Hall, and Njoku, Tet, McMillan. Bench consisting of Pollard, Montgomery, Golden, Charbonnet, JCM, and Coleman. Okay, really strong team there. Who should I start? Okay, who should I be starting tomorrow? I mean, in comparison to what you have on the bench, I'm not making any changes in this circumstance. I think you have the correct players in place for your potential success tomorrow. Any trades that I may seek going forward, in the event in which you could potentially parlay a JCM. Actually, no, I would rather keep JCM and ship Pollard. I would want to ship Pollard before Spears returns with Coleman to try to go get a better potential other additional piece. As to how you could go about that, you could go after a tight end if Njoku does not pan out this week. You could go after another flex play, whether it be a wide receiver or running back, in order to kind of replace Tet McMillan there. That's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm trying to move Pollard, Coleman. If there's like another unfortunate happening in terms of a performance from one of the top tier receivers, you could go after those. If there's a panic within your league, you could also go after a running back. Looking at what you have on roster, if Bucky Irving doesn't play well this week, I try to see what I can do to get in that direction. In the event in which Genti doesn't play this well, as well as he is capable of this week, you can lean in that direction as well. Thank you. Okay, we had a question that came in from, I see Emily Doyle had a follow-up, said Pearsall or Marvin Harrison in a half PPR. I'd probably lean towards playing Marvin Harrison there. Thank you. All right, VBZ, let's see where you're at, my man. He said the following. Okay, so VBZ says, pick one, Ricky or Pickens. I'd rather play Ricky Pearsall. Half PPR. Also, I got 2 leagues in a full PPR. Pick 3, please. I have Hollywood Brown, Drake London, Pickens to start. Is starting. Okay. Have Hampton. Do I play him over one of? Yes, I would. So in the event in which you could, in this league in which you have Hollywood, Drake London, and Pickens, I'm playing Hampton over Pickens. And it says in my second league, pick 2 between Henderson, Swift, Hollywood, and Adunze. I would end up going with Hollywood and probably Adunze there in a full PPR format. Thank you, VBZ. So again, from top to bottom, Ricky's my number 1. In the second league, you're playing Hollywood, Drake London, and Hampton. In the third league, you are playing Hollywood and Adunze. Thank you. All right, we had a question that came in from Oni, who says, I need 2 running backs. Choose one. Charbonnet, Walker, Harvey. I'm playing both the Seattle running backs. Says, need a flex to choose one between Adunze, Booty, Mims, and Shakir. If it's a full PPR, give me Shakir. If it's a half PPR or standard, give me Adunze. Thank you. Lethal Jake sends in a question. Says, happy birthday, Andrew. Thank you very much. Says, let me just go ahead and reload the question. My apologies. My YouTube just crashed there. Pop out the chat. Let's move it onto this monitor. And let me scroll back up real quick. Where did you go? Okay, Lethal Jake says, I'm 33 tomorrow. Congratulations, happy birthday, or happy early birthday, Lethal Jake. Says it says half PPR, start 2 between Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, Jalen Warren, David Montgomery. As of those available options, I'm leaning towards playing Mike Evans and Jalen Warren. As for your next question, it says also, would you roll out Fannin over Henry? I would like to play Henry one more week here and see if Fannin is the real deal. If he is, then I'll play him rest of the season. But until then, I'll just wait. I'm going to play it patient. Thank you. OJ Running sends in a question. Says, I move Kittle to the IR, drop Jordan Addison to pick up Coleman, Scatterbo, Blue, Godwin, or pick up Prescott and backup Fields. No, you should pick up Coleman. Thank you. Nick Walker sends in a question. Says, in a PPR start 3, we have Nico, DK, Pearsall, Sutton, and Pickens. Beautiful. Nico, DK, Sutton. Thank you. King's Zamir sends in a question. Says, Ricky, Rolex, Pearsall. Yeah, Rolex, man. That's what's crazy, man. I mean, he's lucky. I mean, my goodness. Between those 2 options, I'm playing Ricky Rolex. Thanks, man. Twisted Folk says, half PPR. Would you drop Keenan Allen for Waddle? Happy Saturday. Waddle's already banged up. He's already got a shoulder problem. And we already know Waddle every season misses games. So am I making the swap immediately? Honestly, I'd rather play Keenan Allen this week. I'll be honest. So I don't know if I'm actually making that swap. Paul Adams says, when you free, can I get back into the Discord? Yeah. Do me a favor, Paul. Send me a message on Patreon that includes your Discord username, and then I'll be able to add you after the stream. Thank you. Nick James sends in a question. Says, full PPR, Mooney, Quentin Johnston, Aaron Jones in the flex. Between those 3 options, I'm going to lean towards playing Aaron Jones there. Herman Vasquez sends in a question. Says, see my question in the chat. Thank you very much, Herman. I'll check that out right now. Let's see if I can find it in the live chat. Let's look up your name. All right, Herman, if you could do me a favor, retype that question into the live chat because it just unfortunately is not available there at this current moment. Once you go ahead and type that in, I'll be more than happy to answer it. Thanks, man. Isaac, what's up, my man? Welcome back. Says, looking to target Chase or Lamb. Okay, very well. Says, my wide receivers are Jamo Egbuka Edunze and Tedoroa McMillan. Would you bundle any of those for them or hold? No, absolutely. I would send it. Like if I was in your position, I would say, hey, whichever two you guys want, you can have. Like obviously I'd prefer to keep Tedero and McMillan out of the group of 4. That's the one that I want to keep rest of the season. Otherwise, if they're like, hey, yeah, we'll take a Dunze and Igbuka, I'll give them both for Jamar Chase and Lamb. Easily. Doesn't matter. I mean, I'll do it twice on Sunday. Thank you. All right. Quite cheesy. Sends it a question. Says I have Matt. Okay, so sorry. It says I have Love, May, Lamb, Higgins, DJ Moore, Devontae Smith, Addison, and then Achane, Jonathan Taylor, Tracy, and Dylan Sampson. My 10-team half PPR. Solid or make moves? I mean, as of right now, wide receivers are solid. Like actually really solid. Now, obviously, we're waiting for DJ Moore and Higgins to wake up. It's only one week into the season, so just give it some time. Devontae Smith's going to be great this week. You could potentially even, based off the performance that Smith puts together this week, if you want to, you could trade him off of this after this week. Running back is solid. Obviously, we'd like more depth after JT and Achane, but in the event in which, like I'm mentioning, after Devontae Smith puts up a good performance this week, maybe ship him alongside of Tracy, assuming he plays well, and try to go get somebody who doesn't have the greatest week 2 performance at running back. Maybe some inconsistency early in the year to where you can lean in that direction. All right, Tom Lee sends in a question. Says in a half PPR flex, Javonte, Pickens, or Pearsall. I would flex Javonte Williams there in a half PPR. Says I'm starting my wide receivers are Ladd, T. Higgins, running backs are Bijan Kamara. Yeah, that's the right choice. Play Javonte. Thank you. Somebody was asking Mac Jones or Rattler. I'd rather play Mac Jones. Look, Rattler actually is, when I watched that game back, he can spin the ball, but I mean, it's just unfortunately, he doesn't make sometimes timing's a little bit off. Sometimes it just drops by his receivers. Like, they could have won that game very easily last week. Had a couple things broken in their direction. Spencer James says, pick 2. Hollywood, Igbuka, DJ Moore, Judy Pickens. I'd lean towards Hollywood and probably rolling with DJ there. Thank you, Spencer. Appreciate it. Mike says, first time, great channel, PPR, Ridley or Charbonnet, Juju. Of those available in a full PPR, I probably end up going with Ridley or Charbonnet. Not really interested in playing Juju Smith-Schuster this week or in any week, to be honest. So between those two available options, let me check my full PPR structured rankings. As it currently stands, I have Zach Charbonnet 2 spots ahead of Ridley, and I'll probably keep it as such. I'll go with Charbonnet taking on that Pittsburgh Steelers run-stop defense that looked non-existent last week. Thank you. Bathroom Cake sends in a question. It says, trade Kamara and Judy for T. Higgins and Brian Robinson. Is that Brian Robinson? Because if that's the case, I'm not interested in the trade. Because if B-Rob is Bijan, then it's an automatic, right? But as of right now, if that's Brian, I'd rather keep the Kamara side of this deal. Thank you. To the Max sends in a question. Says, sup, Andrew. In a full PPR, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, who would you play between Tyreek Hill, Loud McConkey, Hollywood Brown, Pearsall, Sutton, Judy, Kamara, and... Okay, first and foremost, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. I'm assuming you can also play 2 running backs. In the event in which that is possible, my 2 starters is specifically at wide receiver is Ladd McConkey and Hollywood Brown. I end up playing... you have Kamara as a flexible play. Wow. Okay. Yeah, so that's probably what ends up happening. I probably go Ladd, Hollywood, and Kamara there out of those available options. It says also Nix or Caleb in a 4-point per passing, 6-point per rushing touchdown league. As of right now, I got Caleb 1 spot ahead of him. I'm not going to change my mind on that. I'm playing Caleb this week against the Detroit Lions. Thank you. Demont Smith sends in a question. Says full PPR this Sunday and rest of season, Penix or Lawrence? I'm going to go with Lawrence in both those scenarios. Again, Penix looks solid. He had himself a nice rushing touchdown there. Had himself a shootout of a game. I'm going to lean towards Lawrence still. I'm not going to give up on it just on 1 week's performance. Thank you. Eduardo M says start Walker or Mason. I need to flex 2 between Pickens, DJ Moore, Quentin Johnston, Walker, Mason, Njoku, and Fannin. Okay, between Walker and Mason, as of right now, assuming it's a half or standard, I'm going to go with Mason. Assuming it's a full, I go with Kenneth Walker. Continuing on, in regards to the alternative options in terms of Pickens, DJ Moore, etc., that gang of receivers you have there, I probably end up just playing Pickens and DJ Moore out of the group. Thank you. Let's see here. Ned Flanders sends in a question. Says, is Tyquan Thornton a deep sleeper this week? Under the assumption that he can get behind the defense and the ball is an accurate enough pass, sure. But I think that the Eagles are probably going to exclusively just sit in zone and make Patrick Mahomes dump it off 5 yards at a time until he makes a mistake and tries to get greedy. That's kind of how it's probably going to be played out. Thank you. Okay, really quickly, let me go ahead and let me get back into this chat. Let's see if Herman sent in his question. Herman Vasquez says the following. Says, what's your thoughts on San Francisco having a week 14 bye? With all the injuries, do you think Robinson sees an even split with running back to keep Christian McCaffrey fresh? Yeah, a week 14 bye is incredibly unfortunate for a team that is already dealing with such a wide variety of injuries offensively. Look, here's the thing. In the event in which, again, these players get injured to the point where they need to be rested, they'll rest them. Like, the 49ers have a really soft schedule this year, guys. Like, they play the AFC South. So already in itself, like, they've got an easy schedule. And then I think they also play the NFC South, which makes it easy. Like, when I look at their upcoming games, right? If there was an event in which, again, we're going to have to see McCaffrey miss a little bit of time because he needs to miss a week, so be it. Because when you play against the next couple games here, the Saints, the Cardinals, the Jaguars, the Falcons, the Giants, the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Browns, the Titans, the Colts, the Bears. There's a lot of games there where they don't need to be at 100% rate to still win these games. Now, obviously, it's an unfortunate scenario in regards to if you have to be in a situation where McCaffrey's going to get less workload. But honestly, Kyle Shanahan has never really been one to be like, oh, I got to protect my backs. No, he's going to play them at a full capacity, and it's just how he's going to function it. He never splits the backfield. Hasn't done it for like 4 seasons now. Thank you. All right, we continue on with a question that comes in from Alex Gonzalez, who says, in a half PPR, Hollywood or McMillan? Give me Hollywood there. Thank you. Side Chance sends in a question. It says, Penix over T-Law, Dak, McCarthy, or Stafford? I would play Penix over Stafford. I would not play him over T-Law, Dak, or McCarthy this week. Thank you. Gio Ortiz says, in a full PPR flex, Jamo or Roma Dunze? Also flex Adunze or Olave. I would play Olave over Adunze, and I would play Jamo over Rome. So actually, yeah, basically both receivers are over Rome in this circumstance. Thank you. LLL619 says, in a full PPR, start one wide receiver and one flex out of Evans, ETN, Sutton, Pearsall. Thanks. Of the available options that you have, I'm going Sutton and ETN there. Thank you. Andrew Mitchell sends in a question. Says, hey, Andrew, we have Ted McMillan, we have DJ Moore, and we have Pickens, standard league. Okay. Of those available, play Teteroa McMillan. Thank you. Fraudin sends in a question. Says, yo, questions in the chat. I don't know how to link the comments, but it's in there, brother. Okay, let me go ahead and look at it right now. See if I can find your name in the live chat. Thanks, man. All right, says, yo, brother, happy to have you back. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be back. Says, I just traded Tet and Keon for London. Okay, solid. So my team is JD5, Achan, Connor, Chase, London, McBride, Rice, Judkins, Judy, and Hollywood. Beautiful. Thinking about trading Chase and Judkins for Higgins and Genty in a 10-team PPR. What do you think about it? I mean, honestly, I don't mind it. It's really just going to be very contingent. Yeah, I think it's a good trade. Because ultimately, like, Judkins is still a question mark to an extent in an offense that's going to be a negative game script all season long. So in the event in which you can get Genty, which, again, we're anticipating can be top 12. Higgins, who if he can stay healthy, can be top 12. I don't mind it. I don't think you need it, though. Ultimately, I don't think you need it. But it's a viable move in this circumstance. Elijah says, in a full PPR, Tyreek Hill or ETN in the flex. Let me see where I have them ranked. I believe I end up going Tyreek there, but let me just... Yeah, I have Tyreek 2 spots ahead of ETN. Thank you. Baba Booey sends out a question. Says, Pollard, Keon Coleman, or Hollywood Brown PPR? Hollywood Brown's my suggestion. Moses Andrade sends out a question. Says, traded BTJ, Warren, and Mason for Kraft, DK, and Achan. Yeah, beautiful. I love that. Good. Well done. Good job, Moses. That's a great trade. Mr. Nice Guy, says Chase and Judkins. Yeah, you can keep him. Again, I don't think he needs the trade. Based on what he has on roster, like with Achan, Connor, Chase, London, McBride, Rice, and JD5, that starting lineup is going to be diabolical come week 6 when Rice returns. I don't think you need to make that trade. And honestly, Hollywood Brown filling in for the spot of Rice until further notice is really just, you're solid there. Okay, what do we have here? Egbuka or Travis Hunter this week in a full PPR? I'm probably going to go with Travis Hunter there. Legitimately, that Houston secondary scares the crap out of me, guys. It legitimately does. So I'm going to lean towards playing Travis Hunter. Well, Let me think about that. Tomorrow morning I'll have an answer, but I'm leaning towards Travis Hunter. Vino sends in a question. Says, in a 14-team full PPR, I need one running back and one flex between Harvey, Mason, Waddle, and Charbonnet. Okay. In a full PPR, it makes it a little bit of a trickier scenario. But if I was going to suggest going one way over the other, I'm going with Sharps as my running back and Waddle as my flex. Thank you. How much do we trust Caleb Williams? I can trust Caleb Williams slightly. But again, I think it's a solid enough matchup this week. Like, I'm not saying like outright you have to play him blindly, rest of the season. At no point is Caleb Williams probably going to get there this year to where I'd feel confident starting him over, the other. Yeah, he's not going to ever become a set it and forget it quarterback. Not this season, at least. Right? Now, as much as I love for that to be the case for his career and the potential of the players that surround him with Swift, Loveland, DJ Moore, Dunze, as much as I'd love that to be the case, I don't think that's going to happen. But what he does provide is negative game scripts and rushing upside. And what that, in my mind, kind of provides for us is the stability of, okay, we know regardless, he's going to get garbage time. He's going to be the Blake Bortles of this year. And if you guys are not familiar with how good Blake Bortles was, please travel back to like 2017, 2016. Blake Bortles, for as much of a career as he had, that guy was a fantasy machine. Okay, you know what? Actually, let me look this up. I just want to, let's go back to maybe it's 2014. Maybe I'm misremembering the exact season. Let's see here. Is it, let's see here. Where's Blake Bortles at? It would theoretically be 2015 and, yeah, 2015 Blake Bortles. In that given season for fantasy, he was quarterback 4 because the guy quite literally had 300 rushing yards and all the garbage time, which led to 35 passing touchdowns. It's possible. Garbage time is a thing, and we don't mind the garbage man of fantasy. Thank you. All right, we continue on with a question that comes in from Dilly, who says, I got offered McMillan and Kenneth Walker for Ibuka and Pollard. Wow, okay, interesting. I have Jacobs, Kyron, ETN, Neighbors, London, Moore, Pearsall, considering accepting. Yeah, honestly, I am. Look, here's the thing, okay? You have such a good running back depth kind of situation to where you can afford to honestly, I take the trade. Give me McMillan side. Heath Evans sends in a question, says Charbonnet or Montgomery? That's a really good question. Where do I have Monty structured up against him? Let's see. Okay, so okay. Chicago, I mean, they're going to run the crap out of the ball this week. Monty has to score, though. That's the thing. Monty has to score. I think I play Charbonnet this week. Yeah, I'm going to go Sharps. It's close. By tomorrow, it's going to be like probably 2 ranks between the two of them that separate the bunch. But I'm going to go Sharps right now. Herman Vasquez sends in a follow-up. Herman, I think I got to your question earlier. Maybe you had a follow-up. Let me go ahead and see if I can. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Let me see if I can find your name in the live chat. See if there's anything that you had a question regarding as a follow-up. Second question. Would you drop Tank Bigsby or Brian Robinson for Judkins? Yes, I dropped Tank Bigsby there. Thank you. All right, we continue on with a question that comes in from T-Man Yo, who says, would you trade Javonte Williams and DJ Moore for Ladd McConkey and Pacheco? I have Christian McCaffrey, HN, Kamara, and Evans. Okay, so theoretically, you are making this trade not for running back, but instead to try to get Ladd McConkey. To which I would tell you, I would actually feel more comfortable because you already have Christian McCaffrey, HM, and Kamara. You're good at running back. I'd feel comfortable taking Javonte Williams and DJ Moore and trading them 2 for 1 for a wide receiver. That's what I would rather do. Now, who am I aiming for? I would go after something like a bigger fish to fry. I'd go after a Nico, BTJ, London, something of that exchange up there. In the event in which you couldn't do that, I would even say in a full PPR, maybe even JSN. But in terms of just kind of improving wide receiver, if Ladd McConkey is the best one that you can get in return for a 2-4, again, I'm going to go out there in your league and try to get 2 for 1s. If not, then I don't mind this trade because, again, you are just purely looking to improve wide receiver 2, and I think this certainly accomplishes that while still being able to, of course, maintain CMC, HN, and Kamara alongside of Evans. Jennifer sends in a question. Says, in the flex, do I play Sampson, Mason, or Benson? Out of those 3, it depends on scoring format, Jennifer. If you could do me a favor and let me know what your scoring format was, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Just type it in the live chat. Don't have to send any more supers. Just go ahead and type that in. I greatly appreciate it, though, Jennifer. As for your second question here, let's see. It says also wide receiver 2, Javonte Williams, Tillman, or Quentin Johnston. I'm going to go J-Mo there as your wide receiver 2, regardless of format. But as for the prior question, it'll depend. Like, I'm going to lean towards Mason if it's a half PPR standard. I could justify going Samson in a full PPR. That's kind of where I'm leaning towards. So Samson in a full, Mason in a half standard, and J-Mo regardless of what, whatever your circumstances. Thank you. Okay, we took care of that. Okay, beautiful. Okay. So for those of you who are joining us today, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. Is Walker a bust? Again, it's only been 1 week. It's difficult to say anybody is in a position to succeed or be a complete disaster going forward. Again, we are trending in the direction in which there's a possibility that he could be a bust, but again, there's always the possibility that, with his 10 rushing attempts this week, he turns that into 65 yards and 2 touchdowns. You never know, right? Like, anything could happen. That is the unpredictability of fantasy football, and that's why we love it. Because again, at any given week, at any given moment, anything can happen. And even though, again, we try to set ourselves up for success in terms of the opportunities and the snap shares and all these different metrics that we can utilize to try to determine the potential for success, you never know. So as of right now, I'm not willing to like designate, someone's a bust or a breakout, league winner thus far. Even though, Igbuka looks pretty good week 1. Let's see here. Took care of that. Nico in the chat was saying, which 2 wide receivers would you play this week? Hill, Hollywood, Metcalf, Marv. I'd play Hill and Hollywood this week. Thanks. Appreciate it. Okay, we took care of those questions. Good to go. AJ Brown or Sutton or Ricky in a full PPR? I'm going to go Sutton there if I'm starting one, Jaloni. ME says, hi, Andrew. I need 2 running backs and a flex out of these available players. I mean, you have to play Kamara. You have to play Chuba Hubbard. You have to play Evans. Well, actually, you don't have to play Evans. You could probably play Connor there and get away with it. Yeah, that's probably the way I go about it. I go Connor, Kamara, and Chuba Hubbard in my as the 3 that you play there, ME. Alex says, this is a tough one. In a half PPR, start Pearsall, Kenneth Walker, Jordan Mason, Ridley, and Keenan Allen. If I'm starting 3 of those players, wow. Okay, I got to think about that one. That's a tough one. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're in one of those situations where we just don't know what the heck to expect out of Walker and Jordan Mason, technically speaking. And then Pearsall has a new quarterback. Ridley didn't play well week 1, dropped a couple passes. Keenan Allen looked the best out of all these players you mentioned. Ooh, baby. That's interesting. DeAndre Swift or Keenan Allen in the flex? Depends on format. Crisp, if we're leaning towards the idea of this being a full PPR, just give me Keenan. If it's a half or standard, give me Swift. X Hassan says questions in the chat. Says, greetings, Andrew. In a 10-team full PPR, quarterback is Jalen Hurts. Wide receivers are CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams. Running backs are Bucky and Pollard. Flex is Pearsall and Travis Hunter. Any moves/trades to make? The only time you would ever look to try to make a move is if once Pollard puts together a solid performance here, then at that point am I leaning towards the idea of trading him away. Outside of that, I'm not really looking to make any moves with this roster. I think it's really solid across the board. But in due time, if Pollard puts together a solid performance here, I'd try to ship him away prior to the return of Spears as we proceed. Oh, and Bowers is my tight end. Yeah, I assumed your tight end was good. That's why you didn't mention it. Or you played in a league where there was no tight ends. But Pollard is the guy that we're trying to improve upon. I would, by this time next week, if Pollard puts up a solid performance against the Rams, try to ship him away for a running back that had themselves a really underwhelming week 2 performance there. Colin Smith sends in a question, says full PPR start 2 between Quentin Johnston, Judy, Fannin, and Sampson. Of those available options, I think it's probably best to wow. We got 3 Cleveland Browns here, which makes it scary because it feels like we probably should be playing 2 of them just to kind of cover our bases. That's a tough one, man. I think it's probably just best. Let's just go Judy and Quentin Johnston. Josh says, which 2 receivers to go with? Igbuka, Sutton, Myers, Devontae Smith. Oh my God. Myers is really good. Sutton. Okay, so here's the thing about your question, Josh. I know for a fact I don't want to play Igbuka out of those 4 options. I know I want to play Sutton blindly. So then it becomes a question of, do I want to play Jacoby Myers or Devontae Smith? And considering we have the guarantee of Goddard out, I'm playing Devontae Smith there as my number 2. Thank you. Okay. Speaking of Devontae Smith, again, like I mentioned yesterday specifically in the Hidden Gems episode, if you guys haven't checked that out, again, I posted that yesterday in regards to my 6 Hidden Gems. It was more of like a reiteration of like, hey, understand that Devontae Smith is going to be a very valuable play this week. And again, I'll go ahead and I'll assert my opinion on the matter here in regards to this. So when we travel on over to Betr, right? I mentioned this yesterday, and I'll go ahead and I'll redevelop that kind of conversation. If we're looking for Devontae Smith, right? That's Jackson Smith. Devontae Smith. There we go. Like his current numbers at like 11.5 fantasy points in a full PPR is it's criminally low, because again, he has averaged 14.3 points per game without Goddard in the last 16 games. Okay. And that's in a half PPR. And again, that's 13 of those 16 games consisting of 10 or more fantasy points in a half PPR. Like this is the play that I made yesterday that I really do like. Now, if you wanted to lean in the direction of going more than 4.5 receptions, he has done that. I think it was 4 of the last 4 games against the Chiefs. And then additionally, I think it was, what was the stat that I mentioned yesterday? Let me go find it. Hold up. Please hold off for me one moment. I will find it right now. In terms of the stat from yesterday's video, in terms of 4+, okay, so basically he's looking for 5 receptions. He has done it in 11 of the last 16 without Goddard, and he has done it in 3 of the last 4 against Kansas City. I honestly don't like this number a lot. I don't. I think this is a risky number, to be honest. 5.0 is a little bit sketchier rather than 11.5 fantasy points. So this is kind of the direction I'm leaning in. I've obviously put into play in regards to this yesterday. Other players that in which I put plays together with was specifically Cortland Sutton. Because again, we know that since week 7 of last year, he's just been an unstoppable force. The idea of him at 4.5 receptions, I think, is actually really solid because he's been able to accomplish this in 11 of the last 12 games he has played. Whenever you can give me a player that has a 90+% rate of being able to hit this, that's really nice. What is this? Anytime touchdown? Is this like a nuclear play? Oh, dude, that turns into a 5x. Ooh, okay. I'm going to look into that in a little bit. But again, we've made a lot of plays recently. Derrick Henry, again, another one of these plays in which an anytime touchdown. Is it anytime receiving? No, why would you ever do that? Oh, that's a reception. Sorry, it's receiving. There it is. Anytime touchdown. Those are always nice ones going into the given week. Anyway, go ahead and travel back. We'll probably go into that and put some plays in further on today's live stream, but I want to get back to answering some of these questions. I appreciate y'all. Thank you very much. All right, let's see here. Where are we at? So Matthew in the chat was saying Javonte Williams, Pearsall, or Tat. At this point, just play Javonte, especially against that defense in the Giants. I think it's just too easy. Q Verks says, in a half PPR, play Higgins, Metcalf, DJ Moore, and Buka. Higgins, Metcalf, and DJ Moore all play, in my mind. Thank you. Ken in the chat was saying, in a half PPR, I have both Njoku and Juwan Johnson. Who would you play? In a half PPR, I'm just going to... Oh, man. Okay. All right. Let me see my rankings real quick. So I have Njoku one spot behind Juwan Johnson. That's what I'm going to go with. I'd rather play Juwan Johnson this week. Again, guys, this is what we have to realize. Okay, so a lot of what Juwan Johnson's workload was last week was just purely Rattler getting the ball out of his hands and staying in rhythm. So a lot of them, yes, were near the line of scrimmage, but Juwan Johnson was making plays after the catch. Now, I can almost 1,000% guarantee you that on the final play of that New Orleans Saints game, with 4 seconds remaining, the final passing attempt of the Saints offense was in the direction of Juwan Johnson. He dropped the receiving touchdown. He would have added an additional 8 points, no, actually maybe 9 points to his fantasy week last week had he scored that touchdown at the end of regulation. He would have easily been the number 1 tight end pickup. I feel like everyone who has Juwan Johnson right now on roster actually got a discount based on the fab you had to utilize in order to bring him in on roster. Legitimately. Because had he scored that touchdown, that number of whatever, he already scored in a full PPR 16 fantasy points. Had he had scored 25 plus fantasy points, you wouldn't have even had a chance of getting him because people would have ripped massive fab for that. But yes, Juwan is my suggestion. Thank you. Big Al 9 sends it a question. Thank you, Big Al. Appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. It says Pearsall or Pickens in a standard league. I'm going to play Pearsall there. Thank you. I appreciate it. Again, Pickens in any given week, it all takes one play to make him relevant, but I'm just not going to lean in that direction. I'd be comfortable going with Pearsall here. J.K. Dobbins, Hollywood, Travis Hunter, or Ridley. I'm going to go with Hollywood there. Brownstone, Griddle. Thanks, man. Daniel was saying Tet McMillan, Hill, or Pollard. Give me Tyreek Hill this week. Thanks. Roy Powell sends in a question. Says full PPR. Ingram droppable for Strange. Currently have Fannin. Yes, he is. Look, here's the thing about Ingram. Here's the unfortunate reality. Calf injury last week. I don't know how much usage he's going to see. He might be someone that in the near future could be of greater value. But based on what I saw in terms of like the rotationary play within the lineup, I don't love it. It scared me a little bit to where I was like, okay, maybe this isn't like a role in which he's going to be exclusively featured as the number 2 receiving option. So for now, considering how many like multi-tight end sets they want to utilize, they want to run the ball, I'd lean towards the side of I'm okay with picking up Strange just in case here. Because I'm not playing Ingram this week. I'll tell you that much, guys. All right, what does it say? Michael Serrano was saying in a full PPR, Montgomery, Coleman, or Jordan Mason. I think I have to play Coleman there just because of the full PPR capacity. If I wasn't going to play Coleman, at that point, I would just go Montgomery second and then Jordan Mason third. But that's the order at which I currently have it. Thanks, man. Patrick 510 says in a full PPR, I just traded my Knicks, Sutton, Evans, and DJ Moore for Burrow, Garrett Wilson, Ricky Pearsall, and Keenan Allen. Okay, I'm okay with this trade. I don't have an issue with it. Thoughts? Yeah, I think this is solid. I mean, look, when I look at it across the board, okay, even though I do believe you took a discount at wide receiver across the board, if we compare Sutton, Evans, and DJ Moore to Garrett Wilson, Ricky Pearsall, Keenan Allen, you did take an objective discount. But Burrow is going to have to make up for that. And if he does, then you'll be perfectly fine. But as a across the board, I think it's relatively equal. Assuming Keenan Allen can maintain health, of course. Chat, why is Hill the thumbnail? Matt, that is a fantastic question. Okay, so let me tell you exactly why Tyreek Hill's the thumbnail. Tyreek Hill obviously had himself an incredibly underwhelming week 1. But not just him, every single member of the Miami Dolphins had an underwhelming week 1. And that, again, is because they showed up and they got their ass whooped, belt to ass. This week they play at home. They play against the New England Patriots that, again, from what we saw last week, aren't very impressive either, whether it is offensively or defensively, as they had a home opener in which they lost to the Raiders. Raiders are a good team, don't get it twisted, but I don't think they're that impressive. So I believe Tyreek Hill, considering Christian Gonzalez is not available for the secondary of the New England Patriots, I think he is going to be a huge focal point of their offense with another week of a missing Darren Waller. Now, speaking of Darren Waller missing and who that explicitly helps, besides Tyreek Hill, guys, again, I gotta let you know, Devon Achane should always be a play at 2.5 receptions. Guys, I'm just telling you, and I want to reiterate this as many times as I possibly can. Devon Achane has been able to surpass 3 receptions. He's gone more on that number in 12 consecutive games with Tua Tagovailoa under center. Even including this most recent week in which, again, they got blown out and there was no usage there. So again, if you're looking for another play here, Devon Achane, more than 2.5 receptions, I think is always the guarantee. Validating lineup? Okay, whatever. Let me just close that. But as of right now, pretty solid across the board there. This is one of the plays that I put in yesterday in regards to like fantasy points, anytime touchdown for Derrick Henry, receptions for Achane, all this kind of jazz, leaning in that direction, okay? But anyway, in regards to Tyreek Hill, I expect him to play well, especially with Jalen Waddle dealing with a shoulder injury. Could lead to him potentially leaving the game early and even more opportunities for the likes of Tyreek Hill. Keenan Allen or Devontae Smith? Dre plays. Got to play Devontae Smith this week. Got to. Ted McMillan or Flowers? I would lean towards playing Flowers. Thank you. Ochoa sends in a question. Says, drop Matthew Golden for Judkins. I have Lamb, Sutton, BTJ, Evans, and Coleman. Considering your receiving core and you need running back depth, I have no issue making that swap. Matt says, Bowers is out. Really? That is an wow. Okay, hold up. Can I confirm this really quickly if you guys give me a moment? Because 16 minutes ago, it's NBC Sports posted that Brock Bowers is back at practice. Let me look at my phone real quick. Let me just see the notifications just to see what's going on. It says Brock Bowers 50 minutes ago is questionable. So I don't see where you got that information. But if you're asking me, hey, Andrew, if Brock Bowers is out, where would you go? The issue becomes Brock Bowers plays on Monday night. So unfortunately, you just have to play Strange in this circumstance because you don't know until then. If you are a Bowers manager, then sure, pick up Mayer and go into Monday and then play whoever is active. But in the event in which, okay, cool. So this is what I would suggest. If you have Bowers on roster, then you pick up Mayer. In the event in which that is not the case and you do not have Bowers, you have to play Strange because I'm not waiting till Monday to know the official designation. Thank you. Jennifer sends in a question. Jennifer, hope you're doing well. Thank you very much. It says, Geno, Mac Jones, or CJ Stroud? Yeah, I know these are bad. Yeah, they're not great. I'm going to hope that potentially, let's see here. Okay, the current order at which I have them ranked as of this moment is Stroud number 1, Geno number 2, and Mac Jones number 3. So Stroud will be my number 1, Geno 2. Thank you. Should I play Flowers or Ibuka? I'd play Flowers. Joe Jam 503 says, howdy, Fannin or Evan Ingram? Yes, I would play Fannin over Evan Ingram. Also, Mims for Franklin. Would I drop Mims for Franklin? Mims didn't get much workload week 1. Franklin's starting to get a little bit more of an opportunity share. Hopefully he could get some, opportunities here and there. But if you want to make the swap, you can. Understand that Mims' workload this most recent week is a little bit surprising, especially considering how last year finished. But hey, maybe Troy Franklin has kind of gotten into the role. You got to remember that Bo Nix and Troy Franklin both played in college together. They've got a rapport there as they were both Oregon Ducks. So I don't mind the swap there. But yeah, for sure, Fannin over Ingram this week. Trade Stephon for Hollywood in a half PPR. Guy had him on bench. This is the thing about Hollywood Brown. He is purely just a play for the next 4 weeks until the return of Rashee Rice and or Xavier Worthy. So if you're trading away your asset of Stephon Diggs, who is a rest of season player, for the value of a short-term asset in the form of Hollywood Brown, I'm not really too interested in making that kind of a move. I'd rather just keep Stephon. Juwan Johnson or Kincaid? I'd rather have Juwan Johnson there. Let's see here. Full PPR, flex Walker or Judy? I'd rather play Judy. Nicholas Foss says, is McMillan and DJ Moore a good trade for Nico? I think it is, yes. I think Nico Collins could still finish as a top 3 wide receiver when it's all said and done this year. Gabe says Hollywood, Pittman, or Quentin Johnston. Start 1. Hollywood Brown's my suggestion. Again, I have him incredibly highly ranked based on the 16 targets, 10 grabs he had in week 1, in which he should be able to continue to repeat a very similar workload share. Astro says Daniel Jones, Mac Jones, Matthew Stafford. Daniel Jones and Matthew Stafford are my suggestions. Thanks, man. Matt Glore says Jalen Warren or Keenan Allen in a full PPR. Let me see. Hold up one moment, please. Keenan Allen, I have ahead of Jalen Warren. That's the direction I go in as well. Thank you. Devontae bumped with no Goddard. Incredibly bumped. I mean, I am starting Devontae Smith in almost every league that I possibly can. I'm almost at the point to where I'm like, I want to trade for Devontae Smith just to play him until Goddard returns because I know how valuable he can be. The Watch Hangout sends it a question. It says, start 2 PPR. Kenneth Walker, Tracy, Chubb, also Bowers or Juwan. So here's the thing about Bowers. I want to play him outright. In the event in which he does not play on Monday, you're going to have to pick up Mayer right now. Otherwise, your other pivoting options would be Tyler Conklin, Cade Otton, or Dalton Schultz. So you could position yourself to play one of those alternative options if you don't have the roster's availability as of right now. But in the event in which Bowers come Monday, again, this is hypothetically speaking, is inactive, then you can move him to the IR, and then you can pick up Mayer and play him over the alternative options. Otherwise, if somebody beats you to it, then you would go with like Schultz as the second best option there on Monday, as there are 4 teams playing on Monday. Again, do not forget Chargers, Raiders, and Texans and Buccaneers. As for your prior question, I would play Tracy there alongside of Kenneth Walker. Thank you. LS sends in a question. Says, half PPR, flex, Kamara, Pearsall, McMillan, Coleman, and Allen. Okay, half PPR flex. I'm playing Kamara there. Thank you. Start Njoku or Fannin. I would lean towards playing Njoku there still. Thank you. Appreciate it. Matt Glore says Dylan Sampson still play with Judkins. Yes, because again, you got to remember when you're playing against the Baltimore Ravens, and this is the first game of Judkins' career, I expect Judkins to get himself a couple runs here and there, but a lot of the receiving workload should go in the direction of Dylan Sampson in a negative game script. So yes, absolutely still in that direction. Tony Pollard or Javonte Williams, full PPR. Throwback, damn, I would play Javonte there. Thanks, man. B. Cho, what's up, man? Says Tyrone Tracy or Marvin Harrison. It says I have McBride as well. What's your scoring format? I think if you're playing in a full PPR, I'm okay with Marv. If you're playing in a half standard, I'd probably go Trace. Judy or Chubb in a standard, I go with, oh, wow. That one I got to think about. I got to think about that one. Because then it just becomes a matter of can Chubb fall into the end zone? Because if he does, it's great. Hawkinson or Hunter Henry, non-PPR. Give me Hunter Henry. I think there's more touchdown upside there. Guillermo, what's up? Says Hawkinson or Jalen Warren in the flex. Give me Jalen Warren. Victor Estrada was saying, do you think Trey Benson could take touches from James Conner? I think he could, especially this week when they're playing against Carolina. they're probably going to be up early, so they're going to run the ball with Trey Benson late. But is it enough to where I'm like super concerned about it? No. I still think that James Conner is a viable and valid play going forward every week. Thanks, man. Not Lucid sends in a question, says full PPR, Caleb or Fields? I'd rather play Fields. Fannin or Ingram? I'd rather play Fannin. Thanks, non-Lucid. Not Lucid, appreciate it. Jake Thompson sends in a question. Jake, hope you're doing well, my man. Says Goff or Rodgers? And would you drop one for Murray? Yes, I would immediately drop Aaron Rodgers for Murray. I'm not even joking. Honestly, I'd even feel comfortable dropping them both and pick up Murray and somebody else. But Kyler Murray needs to be rostered in this league. If it's a 6-point per passing touchdown format, then I can understand as to why you have both Goff and Rodgers. But in the event in which is 4-point per passing touchdown, I'd lean towards Goff and Murray. Thank you. Again, I'm not going to utilize that Green Bay Packers matchup and really hold it against the Detroit Lions. The Green Bay Packers have proven by defeating the Lions and the Commanders in the fashion in which they have in the last 2 games that they are a legit fucking team. I mean, the Packers are stacked right now. And with even the injuries that they have at cornerback, at wide receiver, they're still, I mean, offensive line, they were missing 2 starters on Thursday, and they had no problem running the ball, guys. I mean, that Packers team, I'm not holding it against anybody that they beat. The Lions are a lot better team than they demonstrated on Sunday for sure, so don't sleep on them as of yet. Brendan says Mark Andrews or Juwan Johnson. If it's a full PPR, just give me Juwan Johnson. If it's a half standard, I'm okay with going Mark Andrews there. Booty or Tillman, the flex? I'd go with Tillman. Travis Hunter, Henderson, or Hill. As of those available options, I'm going to go with probably Hill. Hill for sure. I don't know about Henderson or I'm okay with Hill and Hendo. Richard says Hawkinson or Johnson. Give me Johnson there, full PPR. Gabe says Kincaid or Loveland. I'd go with Kincaid there. Also, should I drop Jaden Blue or Ray Davis? I'm okay dropping Jaden Blue because, again, I think he's going to require an injury to Javonte Williams to become relevant for fantasy purposes. As outside of right now, he is basically just a healthy scratch every week. He's on the outside looking in comparison to Ray Davis, who at least gets himself some workload there. And I think if, in fact, an injury was to happen to either of their 2 lead backs, whether it's Javonte or James Cook, Ray Davis is the more valuable of the 2 going forward because, again, we know what he's capable of accomplishing in the absence of James Cook, as last season there was a game against the Jets in which James Cook did miss entirely, and Ray Davis looked great on the ground, through the air, all that kind of jazz. Salted Pork sends in a question. Thanks, Salted. I appreciate that, my man. Says, flex, Pearsall or Pickens? I would suggest playing Pearsall this week. Thanks, man. Baker or Rodgers? I also have DK in the flex. Listen, I don't like the matchup for Baker this week, but again, it's kind of hard not to start him because he's just been so good year over year. And I've already learned not to doubt Baker, so I'm just going to suggest going Baker there. Mooney, Austin, Judkins, Andrews? Give me Mooney there at that point. Pearsall or Hollywood, says Salted Pork? Give me Hollywood. Yeah, for sure. Thanks, man. All right. Jay McLaughlin, what's up, Jay? I hope you're doing well, sir. Says, help, Andrew. I'm in non-PPR. I need 2 flex between Dobbins, Charbonnet, Mason, Pickens, and QJ. Yeah, cool. Of those available options, I'm going to go with Mason, and I'm going to go with probably Dobbins. Yeah, that's probably the direction I go in. I kind of want to play Charbonnet there, but honestly, man, maybe it is Charbonnet Dobbins. And a non-PPR becomes tricky. Yeah, Charbonnet Dobbins. I could justify playing Mason over Sharp in a non-PPR, but for right now, I won't. Mark Cleveland sends in a question. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Says, would you trade Hunter for Sharps if you're good at wide receiver and weak at running back? Yeah, I would. Again, you have to understand, though, by trading for Charbonnet, you are inherently asking for the risk that is implied. That is scary in itself, right? So, am I comfortable with the idea of making that trade? Sure. But am I looking for maybe an alternative running back to trade for? Yes. Like, am I 100% over the moon about the idea of trading for Charbonnet? No. I would rather go looking towards other backs, but if you're playing in a sharper league, probably just take the trade and let's hope for the best. Emily was saying also, I think I know the answer, but Goff or Geno in a full PPR? I currently have Goff as my number 18 and Geno as my number 22, so I'd go with Goff this week. Is Bigsby an elite handcuff? I mean, think about it this way. Will Shipley fractured a rib in that opening game against Dallas. So Bigsby is the immediate handcuff of Saquon. In the event in which he was the miss, you have to remember that both DeAndre Swift and Miles Sanders, prior to the arrival of Saquon in Philadelphia, Prior to his arrival, both Swift and Sanders were both averaging 5 yards per carry in their final seasons with Philadelphia. Anybody who plays behind this line in this scheme is going to be fantasy relevant. And Bigsby has proven that he can be a great back with, ample opportunity. So he is absolutely to the level of Brian Robinson Jr. in elite handcuff. Gerardo Zelada, says, please check the question in the chat. It's a dynasty. Yeah, okay, let's see what you have here, Gerardo. If I go here, Gerardo. All right. Says Judy or Flowers. I'd rather play Flowers there, for sure. And then it says start 1, drop 2 between the Cardinals, Broncos, Texans, and Vikings. If we're starting one of these defenses, I'm starting the Broncos defense every week blindly. And then I'm dropping... I'm dropping the Cardinals. And then... yeah. Basically, that's it. As for your next question, it says, do I drop Chubb for Judkins? And who would you drop, Goff for Rodgers or for Murray? Yeah, I would drop Rodgers for Murray. Jake Thompson, thanks, man. Let me see. What else do you have, Gerardo? Do you have another question in this chat? If you do have another question, just let me know. Thanks, man. S. Stewart, what's up, man? Says Judy or Chubb in a standard? Yeah, that one I thought about it a little bit. I think I end up playing Nick Chubb there. Salted Pork sends in a follow-up. Says, should I start Henderson, Tracy, or Mason? I could justify playing them depending on scoring format. Salted Pork, what's your format at? Is it full PPR? Matthew Hunter was saying Charbonnet or T-Mac and a half. I'd rather just play T-Mac there. Moth Doom was saying Hollywood or DJ Moore. Give me Hollywood. Judkins or Chubb rest of the season. I'd rather have Judkins rest of the season. Tyreek Hill or Hollywood. I don't know. I got to think about that. I'll know by tomorrow. That one's a tough one. If it's a full PPR, give me Hollywood. If it's a half, give me Tyreek. Rank Henry, Pitts, Ferguson, and Strange. Yeah, Henry number 1. Strange 2, Ferguson 3, Pitts 4. Brendan, if you're playing in a full PPR, give me both those receivers. Salted Pork says, yes, it's a full PPR. If it's a full PPR, I'm not interested in playing Mason. I'm either playing Tracy or Henderson, to which right now I'm going to play Tracy. Thank you. Ricky Reeves says, in a full PPR, who do I start in the flex? Devontae Smith, Jameson Williams, Ricky Pierce. I'll play Devontae Smith. Thank you. Okay, guys. I think that's pretty much where we're going to cover it here. We've been live for about an hour and 40 minutes. I'll answer a couple more questions, then we're going to call it. Again, a quick reminder, guys. Again, if I wasn't able to directly answer your question, or if you have other questions in regards to your lineups, not only this week, but for the remainder of the season, again, you can check out Betr. I put together a couple plays over the course of yesterday's episode of Hidden Gems at the end of the episode in regards to, Devontae Smith, Derrick Henry, Cortland Sutton, Devon Achane, a plethora of different players in which I've made plays there. So if you guys want to check out those plays, be sure to do so. But if you sign up using code Andrew today, make that first time deposit minimum of 10 and make that first time play within a real cash play, a minimum of $1, picking more or less on player statistics, you'll be able to get onto my email list where every single Sunday I send out rankings for all positions for both half and full PPR. So when I say all positions, it's quite literally tiered rankings for quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, kicker, defense, and flex. So if you guys are interested in getting those rankings every single Sunday for the remainder of the season, all that information, again, is right here. And of course, down below in the description in which you can check that out today. Additionally, if you guys are not eligible based on your current location to play via Betr, or if you're not interested in that, of course, you could check out the Patreon as I offer, of course, the rankings available there, along with, of course, answering any and all fantasy football related questions, whether it's waiver wire, whether it's trade, and of course, you get Discord community server access and all of that is available there. More information down in the description if you guys are interested. Thank you very much. Okay. Metcalf or Hollywood Brown? Give me Hollywood Brown there, for sure. Likely worth a stash? Yes. If you could put him on your IR, I would stash him. Absolutely. Cowboys or Eagles defense? I'd rather play the Cowboys this week. Jacoby or Sutton in a half PPR? Give me Sutton there. Thank you. Mike Honcho says, full PPR, Pollard or Henderson? As of right now, I would go with Pollard there. Thanks. We took care of that. Hey, Andrew, would you rather play Fannin, Pitts, or Strange? As of right now, I go Strange 1, I go Fannin 2, I go Pitts 3. Thanks. Has he been putting defense and kicker rankings anywhere? Yes, Matt. So tomorrow morning, starting from 7 to 10 a.m. PST, I'm going to be live streaming here on the channel like I do every single Sunday morning. Sunday morning pretty much consists of having all updated rankings on screen. So my top 36 running backs, wide receivers, top 12 kickers and defenses, and top 16 quarterbacks and tight ends will be available on screen tomorrow over the course of the entire live stream. The only thing that is not included on screen are full PPR rankings and flex rankings. So that is pretty much what is gate kept in terms of, or I would say in the traditional sense, paywalled as of right now. Thank you. LS says in a half PPR, Samson, Booty, or JMO. Yeah, give me JMO there. Tommy Gunn, what's up, my man? Hope you're doing well, Tommy. You're going to be the final question of today. Says for running back depth, I have Quinshon Judkins on my bench, but I'm interested in Bayshall Tootin as my backup. I already have Chase Brown, Genty, Bucky, and I'm starting that I'm starting, okay? And Mason on my bench. I understand the intrigue of Tootin, but I think having Quinshon Judkins is probably a little bit more of a guarantee rather than Tootin would require ETN to fall off of a cliff in terms of his production and effectiveness to be able to get more run within the backfield. Considering how stacked you are, again, you could look to potentially make some 2-for-1s where you send Mason and Judkins for another player option and then pick up Tootin afterward. Otherwise, I think you keep it as is. Devontae Smith, Hill, or Adunze. As of right now, I'm playing Hill 1, Devontae Smith 2, Adunze 3 as we go into this week. All right, guys, I'll be back tomorrow morning. Thank you again. Hopefully, you guys can potentially check out the Patreon and or Betr if that's where you guys want to get rankings. Otherwise, I will be back tomorrow morning. Have a great rest of your Saturday afternoon. And hopefully, of course, we're going to have ourselves a fantastic week 2 of the 2025 fantasy football season. If you guys sent me questions via Patreon already, I'll be able to check those out right now. And outside of that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to cue the one and only Double Helix. Have a great rest of your guys' day. And until next time, tomorrow morning, I'll see you guys. Peace.